Now, welcome back to GEP Talk. This episode 6. Today we got the March Madness preview and projection episode. Let's get right to it. All right. So it's everyone's favorite time of the year. It's March, college basketball. So that means NCAA tournament. And first off, I want to say I'm so excited the tournament's happening this season because last year the tournament got canceled. So March Madness is back. Favorite time of the year. I know everyone's filling out their brackets. I filled out a bunch of brackets. So today, instead of the usual NBA episode, which I got coming out soon, we're coming today with the March Madness special. All right. So let's get right to your boy JG's, aka John, aka G Money's bracket. So we'll start off with the West. So first round, we got Gonzaga. They're number 1 seed. Gonzaga's undefeated this season. They're playing the winner of Appalachian State, Norfolk State. There shouldn't be no problem. I got Gonzaga moving on to the second round. Next, we got Oklahoma and Missouri, both equal balanced teams. Oklahoma, they got a record 15-10. Missouri, they're 16-9. I'm going with the Chicago kid, Xavier Pinson, the point guard of Missouri, to lead them the way. Then we got Creighton versus UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara. Now, everyone's talking about this game. Creighton's been having a lot of problems. Their coach just had to step away because a racial comment. I don't know if the team's still a big fan of him. I think that's going to play a problem. I'm going with the upset, the 5-12 upset. I'm going with the UCSB, the Santa Barbara. I'm going with them in that game against Creighton. And then we got Virginia versus Ohio. Another interesting storyline. Virginia wasn't allowed to play in the ACC tournament due to COVID. They're pulling up to Indiana, I think, tomorrow. So they're only getting 1 day of practice for this game. And Ohio's not a bad team. They're 16-7. They have a point guard, 6'4". His name's Jason Preston. And he is a certified bucket. He's going to the NBA. He gave Illinois a game. And I'm going with the Ohio Bobcats in that. So I got back-to-back upsets, the 12 and 13. Next up, we got University of Southern California, USC. They play either Wichita State or Drake. I think Wichita State's going to beat Drake, and I'm going with USC to beat Wichita State. Kansas versus Eastern Washington. Not a lot of people are talking about Kansas. Another team who had to sit out in the conference tournament. Kansas got a nice little team. They're well balanced all over the floor. They shoot well. I'm going with Kansas over Eastern Washington. And then we got Oregon versus VCU. I'm going with Oregon. VCU is also a good team. Watch out, though. It's going to be a close game. And to to wind out the West bracket, we got Iowa versus Grand Canyon. I'm going with the Hawkeyes. I'm sorry for my apologies. Okay, so let's move to the first round of the East bracket. So we got Michigan, their number 1 seed, Juwan Howard, got him back in the tournament. Michigan's going to take the first one. Interesting game. We got LSU, St. Bonaventure. LSU been hot. They just went to the SEC championship, lost at the buzzer to Alabama. St. Bonaventure just won the A10 conference, but I feel like LSU is just a little bit taller, play a little better defense. I'm going with LSU. Big storyline, March Madness. We got Colorado versus Georgetown. Georgetown wasn't even supposed to make the tournament. They won the Big East. Their coach Patrick Ewing, former Georgetown player, New York Knicks great, wasn't allowed in Madison Garden. That inspired the players, but a lot of people are gonna hop on this 5-12 because 5-12 is very common in March Madness. But I'm going with the Buffaloes of Colorado, just because I feel like everyone's hopping on the Georgetown wave. So I'm a stick with Colorado just because, and I like their point guard from Colorado's name McKinley Wright. Watch out for him. Then we got 4 versus 13, Florida State versus UNC Greensboro. Greensboro won their conference as well. They're a good team, but I'm going with Florida State. 6-11, very interesting. So we got BYU, but there's a play-in game, first 4, which is tomorrow, Thursday, Michigan State versus UCLA. And I know where we say those teams, Michigan State, UCLA, they're usually not playing in the first 4, so that's going to be interesting. But I think Michigan State's going to win that first 4 game. And then I got Michigan State beating BYU as well. We're talking about Michigan State. They've been playing hot recently. I know they lost to Minnesota in the Big Ten tournament first round, but I feel like Michigan State might make a little run, make a little splash. Then we got Texas versus Abilene Christian. And Texas got a great team this year. They got Greg Brown. They got a couple other guys. They got Matt Coleman. They got some veterans on this team. Texas is really nice. Shaka Smart really has Texas back hooping. So I got Texas in that game. UConn versus Maryland, 7-10. UConn's very interesting because they have one of the best players in the country. His name's James Bouknight. And if he plays, UConn could really beat anybody. So if he plays, I got UConn beating Maryland. And then we got Alabama versus Iona. Iona's coach, legendary coach Rick Pitino. He's got Iona back in the tournament. Iona's usually a tournament team that usually make it out, but Alabama's really tough this year, so I'm going Alabama to finish out the East side of the bracket. First round in the South, number 1 seed in the South, we got Baylor. They're one of the best teams in the country. They only have two losses. Baylor's really good. Their first round versus Hartford, I'm going with Baylor. North Carolina versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin's was a ranked team all year. North Carolina has been a team surging of late. Roy Williams finally got his team together. They weren't going to make the tournament last year, even before COVID all happened. So, but I like the hot streak of North Carolina. I'm riding with the Tar Heels in that round. The next game, Villanova versus Winthrop. Villanova's best player, the point guard, Colin Gillespie. He just went down with an injury. Winthrop only has 1 loss this season. Everyone's on this Winthrop Eagles wave. I understand it, but I'm going opposite. I'm going with Jay Wright and Villanova just because that's another upset people are hyping up too much. I'm going to go stick with Villanova. We got my team, Purdue Boilermakers. They're playing North Texas. I think Purdue's going to handle them, and Purdue's going to move to the next round. An interesting game, Texas Tech versus Utah State, but Utah State has they're the Mountain West. They play in the Mountain West. The Mountain West is very competitive, but Texas Tech has a nice little squad. I like Mac McClung from Texas Tech. I'm going with Texas Tech, but just watch out because Utah State's going to give them a game. It's going to be close. Just watch. Arkansas versus Colgate. Arkansas is 22-6. Arkansas is probably the best team Arkansas has had in a really long while. Colgate only has 1 loss, but Colgate has the Player of the Year, Jordan Burns, in their conference. So you got to watch out for Colgate. Florida versus Virginia Tech, 7-10. I'm going with the upset. I'm going with VTech. VTech's been playing well. Florida, they're all right, but I think they're going to go down. And Ohio State versus Oral Roberts. Ohio State's a 2 seed. They're back in the tournament. And I got them beating Oral Roberts to close out the South first round. So now to the Midwest. Number 1 seed in the Midwest, we got the Illinois Fighting Illini. My home state, really making me proud. When Ayo Dosunmu decided to come back for his 3rd year, I told my dad, I really think Illinois has a chance to win the national championship. And now he's got them in the 1 seed. They just won the Big Ten tournament, and they've been playing great. So you got to think of Illinois as a top contender in this March Madness. You have to. First round, we got Illinois versus Drexel. Illinois is going to handle that. Interesting game. We got Loyola Chicago, Georgia Tech. And just let me remind you, three or 4 years ago, Loyola Chicago went all the way to the Final Four. But Georgia Tech just won the ACC tournament. They've been playing hot this past whole month. Even before the ACC tournament started, they've been playing great. So I'm going with Georgia Tech for the ups. Not an upset. That's kind of a toss-up. But then Tennessee versus Oregon State. I'm going with Tennessee. They've been there before. Tennessee's got a good team. A team who's been surging late in the next game, we got Oklahoma State and Liberty. Oklahoma State has the best point guard in the draft, the number 1 player who will get picked number 1 next NBA draft. His name's Cade Cunningham. They went all the way to the Big 12 final. Oklahoma State, mind you, Oklahoma State wasn't even supposed to go to the tournament. 1, talent alone, and 2, NCAA recruitment violation. But that was canceled, and Oklahoma State, the Cowboys, are in the tournament, so they might make a run. We'll see. San Diego State versus Syracuse. San Diego State, they're a favorite. They're 6th seed. Syracuse, number 11. But let me remind you, we got Syracuse, Jim Boeheim. That zone is really good. Syracuse is not bad. They're not that bad as 11th seed. And Syracuse has won to the Final Four as 11th seed. In the past couple years, since 2013, they've done it twice. So watch out for Syracuse. They might make a run. And then we got West Virginia, Morehead State. West Virginia's been playing great this season, and there's not really the old West Virginia that we're used to. A slow, the West Virginia could shoot, they could run, and West Virginia's got a really good team. Then we got an interesting game. We got 7-10, Clemson versus Rutgers. And Rutgers is coming out the Big Ten. They're like one of the bottom teams of the Big Ten, but they gave everybody game. They beat it, but they have some bad losses. But I'm going with Rutgers, the Scarlet Knights against Clemson. And then to round it out, we got Houston versus Cleveland State. To round it out the Midwest, the 2 versus 15, I'm gonna go with Houston. So now we're up. Now we're going to the round of 32. We're gonna start all the way back on the top. We're gonna go to the West. So the way I had it, we got Gonzaga versus Missouri. Another good game. I just think Gonzaga's too good. They haven't lost all year yet. I don't think they're gonna lose to Missouri. Now we got University of California, Santa Barbara in my bracket versus the Ohio Bobcats. 2 upsets who I see, but I'm going with Jason Preston in Ohio to the Sweet 16. Yes, you heard it. I hope it's right. If it is, I'm gonna tell you guys were wrong, and I was right. If I was wrong, so what? But I'm gonna put my money on Jason Preston. Next, we got USC versus Kansas. I'm going with Kansas. Evan Mobley, USC is going to be a top pick in the draft, but I feel like Kansas is a little bit better than USC all around, and the late game is going to hurt them. Then we got Oregon, Iowa. This is going to be a great game. Oregon always plays tough in the tournament. They never go out quiet, and Iowa's been an inconsistent team. And if Iowa doesn't show up, they will lose. Iowa has shown that if they don't show up, some games they will lose. But I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes on this one, though. But that's definitely going to be a close game. Another one, we got Michigan, LSU. That's going to be a bloodbath. Michigan better come to play or LSU will knock them off. But I'm going to go with the Wolverines. Colorado, Florida State. I'm going to go with Florida State. I really like Scotty Barnes from Florida State. And Florida State's always been playing good in the tournament. They're athletic. They're long. They can play defense. Florida State's a really good team. They got a good coach. Then I got Michigan State versus Texas. I think Texas is too good. Michigan State's a little run, ends right there. UConn, Alabama. And a lot of people, Alabama just won the SEC tournament, and they're talking about this. But I got the UConn Huskies. Yep, you heard it. UConn does it again, knocks off the 2 seed, Alabama, and Alabama goes down. Then we got Baylor, North Carolina. Baylor's too good. North Carolina's they just don't have the talent this year. They're not bad, but they don't have the talent this year to beat a team like Baylor, who's 8 deep and got 2 of the best shooters in the country. Then we got Purdue, Villanova. I'm going with the Boilermakers. Texas Tech, Arkansas. A 6 seed in Texas Tech versus Arkansas. I'm going with Tech. I really like Texas Tech this year. They almost won a championship the last tournament, and they really got a nice squad. And then we got Virginia Tech versus Ohio State. Ohio State's a little shaky at times, but I'm gonna go with Ohio State. Midwest second round, round of 32. Illinois versus Georgia Tech. I'm going with Illinois there. I really like Illinois. Like I said, Tennessee, Oklahoma State, 5-4 matchup. I'm gonna give it to Oklahoma State. I'm gonna ride with Caden Cunningham, and I think Cade Cunningham's good enough to get his team to Sweet 16. Syracuse versus West Virginia. It's gonna be a close game, but I got West Virginia. And then Rutgers versus Houston. I got Houston beating Rutgers, so that rounds off the round of 32 for the Midwest. So now we're up to the Sweet 16. So starting at the top. So the way I have it, it will be the Gonzaga. It'll be Gonzaga versus the University of Ohio. Gonzaga's not losing this one. The story of Jason Preston ends there, but he's gonna have a great run. It's gonna be a Steph Curry type run at Davidson, and he's gonna boost his draft stock after that. Then we got Kansas versus Iowa. I'm gonna go. This will be an upset, but I'm gonna go with Kansas right here. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on Kansas, and I really like Kansas in this game. Then we got Michigan, Florida State. The first number 1 seed to go down in my bracket will be Michigan. Florida State will be heading to the Elite Eight. Just watch it. Then other side of the East, we got Texas versus UConn. UConn's run ends right there. They run into Texas to a complete team in Texas. I got Texas taking that one. In the South, first game would be Baylor versus Purdue. And unfortunately, my Purdue Boilermakers are going to run into one of the best teams in the country, and I don't think we're going to win. That's why I like Baylor this game. And then Texas Tech versus Ohio State. It's going to be upset. Not a lot of people are going to have this pick, but I'm going with Texas Tech. I feel like McClung and Ohio State just a little shaky, and Texas Tech plays a complete game. So I'm going with Texas Tech. And then Illinois versus Oklahoma State. Now that's going to be one of the best games in the tournament. Absolutely. A bunch of NBA players, a bunch of eyes, but I'm going with Illinois, Ayo Dosunmu, and Kofi Cockburn. West Virginia versus Houston. I'm going West Virginia. So now it gets real. Now we're talking about Elite Eight. The Elite Eight is the game to go to the Final Four. So all time nerves, all the eyes. Gonzaga versus Kansas. Now this one's tough. I'm going with the Zags. Florida State versus Texas to go to the Final Four. I'm gonna go with Florida State. Baylor versus Texas Tech. I'm gonna go with Baylor. And Illinois versus West Virginia. I'm gonna go with Illinois. So the way I have it, the way GEP Talk, this podcast that you guys are listening to right now has your Final Four. I got Gonzaga, Florida State, Baylor, and Illinois. Gonzaga, Baylor, and Illinois. A lot of people are having them because they're number one seeds. But just because they're number one seed, some people say like, oh, that's not a good sign just because you got one seed. They could go down. They could. But to me, those are well-balanced teams, and I feel like they can make it. But that's why I got my sleeper. I got my Florida State in because I feel like Florida State can make a run too as well. Gonzaga versus Florida State. Unfortunately, my boys from Florida State are going to have to go down. Gonzaga's going to take that one. Baylor versus Illinois. These teams have played before. Baylor won, I think, by 10 points. But second time, Illinois said run it back. Illinois is going to be headed to the national championship. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the final game, the national championship, one shining moment for these players, one opportunity. Me, John Gebner, I'm coming to you guys today. I'm telling you, the University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini, will upset Gonzaga in the final game of the season, ruin their perfect record, and win the national championship. I wish everyone good luck in their brackets. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys have a comment or want me to do something else for my next episode, thoughts, ideas, please let me know. We're up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we're on YouTube too. It's your host, John Gebner. You're listening to GEP Talk, and I'm going to see you guys. Peace.